with me. This has been really a fascinating discussion. I'm, again, so pleased that I'm able to be on this panel, as I do think we're going to be able to create a national freight policy that is common sense, but really begins to address this issue like we never have before. Being the last person, obviously, most of my questions were already asked and answered. I do just want to say again how pleased I am that we are talking about the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund. I just think that is a problem in search of a solution. There's $9 billion that is surplus that is not being used for the intended purposes. And again, I think when we collect a tax, as was said, I think people and the industry is okay with that as long as we continue to use the tax for the purpose it was intended for. And I think we really lose the public's trust when we continue to ask for taxes, raise taxes, and don't use them for the intended purpose. L.A. Long Beach, of course, is the donor port in that harbor maintenance tax. We only get 0.1% back of what we give, and maybe for another topic, I would really like to do a deep dive into the Harbor Maintenance Tax Trust Fund and talk about are we ready to achieve some sort of I would like to see that money go back to the ports where it was collected. I know, though, the smaller ports in the country are nervous about that solution because many of them are on the receiving end of that tax. So we really don't feel like we have the time here to deep dive into that. One of the things I have not heard us talk about today, which I do think is going to be a problem that we need to address, and that's the environmental impacts of our expanded transportation projects and initiatives, and wondering if that's something that we need to actually look at and address in a common sense way when we come up with a national freight policy. I know in Los Angeles and Long Beach we've had to address environmental mitigation as we have grown our ports. We do have the Clean Truck program. We're now expanding the ship's ability to plug into shoreside power in our port. We have an intermodal project, BNSF, that I fear will be held up because the environmental impacts of that project, even though it's a good project, it makes sense, it's going to help our transportation system, unless we address the impact that we're going to have on neighborhoods, I think many of our projects we're going to talk about may be stalled until they're better. Curious to know, are we moving towards cleaner, greener fleets with FedEx or rail? Are we closer to any kind of real cleaning or electrifying of our trains, our trucks? I know we're not close to having an electric drive system that actually can work for haul, but where are we, and should we, as we talk about a national freight policy, should we address this in a proactive way so that any kind of expansions or more investment in infrastructure projects, we address this at the same time so as not to have a conflict with environmental mitigation? I'd like to hear all of your comments on that.
Well, I will start and simply say that the easiest and best way to reduce emissions and pollutions is through, one, making our transportation infrastructure more efficient. Everything that we've talked about today, next generation air transportation, corridor improvements, infrastructure funding by increased fuel taxes, as long as that money is spent on infrastructure, it will reduce the number of vehicles or activities, and there will be a commensurate reduction in emissions. It just follows one to the other. As I mentioned, just in FedEx Ground alone, just by making the change in the the twins to a 33-foot limit takes in our company almost 600,000 trips. So it's a fantastic improvement. The second is technology is allowing us to do what we do more efficiently. We're buying new 777 airplanes, 18% more efficient than the airplanes that they replace. Our new lighter pickup and delivery vans